Idle control. Yeah, we do have to talk about this a little bit, don't we? Well, yeah, you guys know what I mean by idle, right? That's when you turn the, take your foot off the gas, the car just goes. How does that work? Well, old school, we'll talk old school. Old school, we actually had this idle control stepper motor that would open and close a passage that bypassed the throttle plates. So this guy was kind of in control of, idle. Now, when you took your foot off the gas, that's when this guy would pick up. And when you pushed your foot on the gas, this guy would close. Seems pretty simple. So if you look at a Scanto, we would have target idle and actual idle. And these should agree, and they should be pretty close. Monitors MAF, MAP at idle. And then also it can also run this more intrusive test on idle while you're driving around. It'll just open up this passage, and MAF and MAP should respond. We okay? Now, I do want to say this, that this IAC that they used was strictly a rough, coarse idle control. The fine adjustment was actually done by changing and altering engine ignition timing and fuel timing on direct injection stuff. So, and literally in GM land, the IACs have all been phased out, by like 1998. So this is way old school. What are they using now? Well, now we have drive-by-wire. There's no throttle cable that runs out to open the little throttle plate. What do we have? Well, we have a motor. There's, position sensors on the gas pedal that tell the computer how much we're pushing down on the gas and how fast we're pushing down on it. And that's, relayed out to the, the control motor that opens and closes the throttle plates. You got it? Now, if we have a problem with idle, I'll go back. If we have a problem with idle, what's usually the problem? Well, it's too low and the car dies, right? Now, there is a way, in olden times, there was a way to set this base idle. But we don't use that anymore. We don't even have that anymore. So what can be the case? Well, probably one of the things that comes in is idle isn't idle all the time. They don't just have this target idle and it stays there. The load on the engine changes. I mean, think about it. I'm pulling into a parking space and, I got to crank the wheel all the way and I come up against the lock. Well, power steering, the power steering pressure goes sky high, and that's going to put a big drag on the motor. So the computer needs to raise the idle to deal with this. It needs to open up the throttle plate a little bit. Or let's say the air conditioning comes on, the compressor comes on, idle's going to drop. It needs to come up a little bit. You get it? So we need to make sure that the car is in control of idle. And that's actually pretty simple to do. One of the things we can do is just literally turn the wheel all the way and come up against the lock. And you'll see, if you watch the RPM, you'll see it pop right back up. That's what we want to see. If it drops and stays down, well, that's a problem. I'll pick on Chevy, pick on GM trucks. If they have a power steering pump, which some of them are electronic now, which is a whole nother issue, there's a switch in there that tells the computer that, power steering pressure went way up, and that tells it to kick the idle up. It could be that switch is bad, which I've run into before. Get it? Or somebody's added a bunch of load to the engine. Somebody's got one of those big stereos in it. It's going doof, doof, doof. And every time that happens, the alternator's got to ramp up. And it's happening so fast that the idle speed can't keep control of it. Or, could be the throttle plates are dirty. But you really shouldn't be cleaning throttle plates unless you know exactly what you're doing, because that can be really bad if you don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't have to do that on anything with tack anymore. We okay? Idle. Done.